The movie opens up with a young boy called Sequin reading an erotic comic book in the library. When he notices a man walking by him, he decides to follow and comes close to kissing him until they are interrupted by a woman coughing behind them. Later that night, Sequin returns home to find his father waiting for him. His father asks him how his date went, but Sequin heads to his room without responding. Despite Sequin not bothering to talk to his father, he starts assuming that it probably did not go well since he was home earlier than anticipated. Before he sleeps, Sequin recounts his date where he had gone home with a random man from a dating app called Anon. The two of them had slept with each other, however, once they were done, Sequin quietly left the apartment and blocked him, sticking to his rule of never sleeping with the same man again. The next day, Sequin heads to the subway, and while he is waiting for the train to arrive, a young boy takes a seat next to him. The boy tries to initiate a conversation with him by saying that Sequin has his name on the sweater he is wearing. Confused, Sequin looks down to find that his sweater has the name Tommy embroidered on it. Sequin ignores Tommy, but he speaks up again, not deterred by his attitude, and tells him that the two of them share an English class. At this point, Sequin finally acknowledges him and claims that he remembers him. He then goes back to ignoring Tommy's presence and starts browsing through Anon. This is when he receives a message from a man called B, asking him if he is looking for someone. Sequin responds by saying that he could be. B ends up sharing his location with Sequin, asking to meet him. With his next conquest lined up, Sequin heads into the subway's toilet before changing into his signature sequin shirt. He then makes his way to B's apartment. Once he arrives there, he is greeted by a man much older than him. B offers him a drink, but when he refuses it, he tells Sequin to draw the curtains. Things escalate quickly as B orders him to strip. Making sure to put on a show, Sequin takes his clothes off slowly. B's patience snaps, and he rushes to kiss Sequin. The two of them start making out until they eventually have sex. As soon as they are done, Sequin gets up just as B tells him that they should meet again. However, he shuts B down quickly, telling him that he does not sleep with the same man twice. B then asks him how old he is, and Sequin lies by saying that he is 18. However, B does not believe his lie and asks him what his real age is. Sequin confesses that he is 16. As he walks out of B's apartment, Sequin blocks B. The next morning in class, Sequin remains distracted as he continues to browse Anon. His phone pings with a notification informing him that someone is trying to send him a message. He discovers a message from a profile called Blue Room asking him if he would be down for a group sex party that is completely anonymous. Intrigued, Sequin continues to read the messages that tell him that the party is strictly invite-only. Sequin agrees to join the party, after which the profile asks him for pictures. Sequin shares explicit pictures and is immediately granted access as the profile shares the party's location. After his school ends, Sequin changes into his signature shirt and heads to the Blue Room. As he is led inside, he follows a man through a narrow room where he notices several groups of people having sex. The noise that he hears from the people there starts to turn him on. A man begins to lead him through the room, but soon he encounters another man who manages to corner him. While the two of them are kissing, Sequin notices B watching him. He realizes that his rule of not seeing the men he has already slept with has been broken. Panicked, he pushes the man he is kissing into a makeshift room. Noticing the change, the man asks Sequin if he likes B, but he denies it. Realizing that Sequin wants to get away from him, the two of them hide until they are sure that he has left before continuing to kiss. Sequin takes his clothes off and turns his back to the man. As they start having sex, B watches them from outside, growing more jealous by the second. By the end of the night, Sequin's mysterious lover tells him to find him outside of the Blue Room before leaving. That night, Sequin returns home and, as per usual, ignores his father's incessant questions about how his night went. The next morning, he plays with his bowl of cereal and notices a blue Fruit Loop that reminds him of the Blue Room. When his father sees him playing with his food, he comments that there is something different about him. He brushes his father's comments off and leaves for school. In class, he tries messaging the Blue Room but gets told that his message has failed to deliver. Growing curious about the mysterious room and the man he had spent a wonderful night with, Sequin obsesses over it and starts searching for it. However, he is surprised to find that there is no mention of the room on the internet. While he is busy browsing, Tommy, who very clearly has a crush on Sequin, continues to stare at him. Unaware that he is being watched, Sequin dozes off as the English teacher makes one of his class fellows read a book. As he struggles to differentiate between reality and dream, Sequin begins to daydream about the Blue Room and his mysterious lover. Feeling aroused, Sequin rushes to the men's room after class where he begins to masturbate. This is when Tommy walks into the toilet as well and begins to masturbate. Once they are done, they get out of their stalls but do not acknowledge what went down. As he is about to leave, Tommy speaks up for the first time and asks him what he is doing after school. When he says nothing, Tommy tells Sequin that a bunch of their friends are heading to the movies. When he invites Sequin to join them, he asks Tommy if he is asking him out on a date. Surprisingly, Tommy admits that it is a date and leaves. That evening, Sequin finds himself outside an apartment complex, where he decides to unblock B for the first time since their hookup. Several messages that grow increasingly aggressive pop up on his screen, starting with B asking to meet with him again to asking Sequin if it was really him that he saw at the Blue Room party. Knowing that B might be the only way for him to find his way back to the Blue Room party, Sequin decides to meet with him again. As soon as B lets him inside his apartment, he starts kissing Sequin aggressively before having sex with him again. Once they are done, the two of them lie in silence as they catch their breath as B's phone begins ringing. B tells Sequin that the Blue Room party is held every Tuesday. He then asks B if he knows everyone there, but he responds by saying that he does not. B is the first one to get up as he responds to whoever is calling him and heads to the bathroom to take a shower. He tells Sequin that he needs to go since he needs to be somewhere soon. Alone in the room, Sequin decides to go through his phone, wanting to find the guy he had hooked up with at the party. He opens the Anon app on B's phone and finds his chats where he had asked a guy called T to invite him to a party. Once again, the phone starts ringing and a woman named Sarah's profile appears on the screen. Sequin realizes that she is his wife just as B calls out from the bathroom and tells him that they should meet at the other apartment the next time, claiming that it will be closer to his school as well. When he hears this, Sequin asks B how he knows which school he goes to. However, B tries to cover his tracks by saying that he wore his uniform the last time that they met. Feeling scared, Sequin realizes that B has been stalking him. Without waiting to say goodbye, he steals B's cell phone and rushes out of the apartment. As he starts running to try and get away from B, another message comes in from Sarah who asks him if he will be able to pick their kids up. When Sequin reaches home, he gets into a shower to try and wash off B's touch as fear begins to settle in. Alone in his room, Sequin receives a text from B who is using an unknown number telling him that he knows that Sequin has his cell phone. He doesn't get the time to think about the text, just as a message from Tommy comes through, telling him that he and his friends are waiting for him at the cinema. Cursing himself for forgetting about his date, Sequin shoots Tommy a text and apologizes by saying that something has come up for him. He then starts going through B's cell phone and ends up on the same chat, belonging to a man called C. Before he can text C pretending to be B, the cell phone gets locked remotely. Desperate to find his mysterious lover, Sequin decides to text C and asks him if he knows everyone at the party. However, he is left disappointed when C tells him that he cannot reveal anyone's identity. In the morning, the day begins as usual for Sequin, but he continues to be distracted as he tries to find Blue Room again. This is when he hears someone calling his teacher and informing her that Sequin's father is waiting for him outside. Curious since his father had never shown up to his school unannounced, Sequin heads outside, but just as he is turning around a hallway, he notices B waiting for him with one of his teachers. He manages to hide himself at the last moment before B can spot him and rushes out of the school building. Sequin starts spiraling as he is still unable to find the mystery man and B continues to chase after him. Rattled by the borderline threatening messages left by B, Sequin goes to find comfort in an exclusive club where he meets two drag queens named Charlize and Virginia. They manage to convince Sequin to smoke weed with them. High and disoriented, Sequin finds himself alone after a makeout session with Charlize. Barely conscious, he hears a phone buzzing next to him and picks it up only to find that B is sending Charlize messages, asking him to keep Sequin distracted long enough until he arrives, claiming that he is only a few minutes away. As soon as he reads this, Sequin starts to freak out and rushes out of the apartment despite being half-dressed. As he is leaving, a clueless Virginia tells him that he is overreacting. Not far away from the apartment, Sequin receives another message from B who tells him that he will find him. Knowing that he has to make B stop chasing after him, he screenshots all of his chats with B and sends them to his wife who immediately reads them. When he gets home, he is surprised to find that his father is mad at him for coming home late without informing him of his whereabouts. When Sequin does not respond, his father realizes that something is wrong and lets the issue go, saying that they will discuss it later. Sometime later, Sequin receives a message from someone called T, who tells him that he heard he was looking for someone. Intrigued, Sequin asks him if he knows his mysterious lover. However, D tells him that they need to meet before he tells him anything. Later that night, Sequin's father gets home and tells him that he understands that he needs space to figure himself out, but reminds him to check up with him in case he is late. The next day, he goes to meet D, who tells him that B told him about Sequin. At this point, Sequin realizes that he might have made a mistake coming to meet T. He makes Sequin shower, and as soon as he is done, he goes inside the bathroom and jerks him off. Sequin begins to freak out but manages to pull himself together. He ends up leaving D's apartment without any answers. On his way home, he notices voicemails left by his father, who is angrily telling him that a man twice his age showed up at the house looking for him. Since he had not responded, his father had told him not to return home. Just then, he gets another message from the Blue Room inviting him to another party. Sequin rushes to the location but finds that the room is empty. All of a sudden, B jumps out from hiding and beats Sequin until he is bloody. With no other choice left, an injured Sequin heads off to find Virginia, who offers to take him to his home. After spending the night there, Virginia tells him that he heard B talking to Charlie's about a man named Edward. That day, Sequin manages to find Edward's profile and with Virginia's blessing goes to find him. When he arrives at Edward's apartment, he discovers that he already has a boyfriend. Heartbroken, he returns to Virginia's house, who tells him that he needs to contact his father again. Eventually, he calls his father, and once the two of them make up, he returns home. At the end of the movie, Sequin invites Tommy over and the two of them watch a movie together and share a kiss together.